From great pitches that got all the dragons to bite to awful ones that saw the dragons rolling their eyes. Businesses come and go in the den, but some of them enter the Hall of Fame as the most successful ones, crossing millions. 10. Reggae sauce so good he had to name it twice. Levi Roots, real name Keith, entered the tank with a guitar in his hand and his heart on his sleeve in 2007.
Put some music in my food for me and give me some reggae sauce.
Levi had been working on his reggae sauce practically for all of his adulthood, in between making music, of course. He claimed that his sauce was the perfect alternative to both tomato sauce and hot sauce. Levi believed that traditional sauces had no flavors to them, but with his special sauce, you could feel all the ingredients poke through.
50,000 for 20% in my reggae sauce.
He wanted £50,000 in exchange for 20% of his company, based mainly on the fact that a major company had just placed an order for over 2 million liters of his sauce. However, upon closer examination, Theo Paphitis pointed out some legal jargon that had gone right past Levi's head. This temporary setback didn't mean the dragons were uninterested, though. They were very interested in Levi and his sauce. Even if he didn't get the deal with the company, he was going to walk out with a deal from the den. Peter Jones and Richard Farley offered to go in together with £25,000 for 20% each, twice as much as Levi had planned. But the investment paid off. As of 2025, reggae sauce is worth over £30 million, becoming a supermarket staple across the United Kingdom. 9. Trunky. It'd take a lot of millions actually, for Duncan Bannatyne to admit that the dragons made a mistake. This rare occurrence happened in 2006 when Rob Law entered the den with Trunky, the world's first ride-on suitcase. While Rob's presentation was solid and his numbers were pretty good, he wanted £100,000 for 10% of the company. That was way more than what the dragons were willing to offer. You've probably seen a Trunky around you at one airport or another, but the dragons actually ripped Rob's product apart. Theo, for example, called it worthless. Richard was the only one who wanted to invest, but he wanted over 50% of the company. Ultimately, Rob walked out of the tank without a deal. In 2023, Rob Law sold Trunky's parent company for just over £12 million to digital firm Heroes, yet remained as a general manager. It's one of the den's most regretful experiences. Rob's happy with his millions. 8. Tangle teaser. You've heard about it, you've seen it more than once, and you can't help but be intrigued by it. We're of course talking about Tangle teasers, the global hair care phenomenon that untangles your hair without tugging at the knots. Despite its fame worldwide, did you know that Tangle teasers first received airtime on Dragon's Den? That's right, Sean Pullfrey entered the tank in 2007 as an expert in the field himself. The hair colorist had a pretty great pitch with practical demonstrations, patents, and everything else that would get the dragons interested. His ask for £80,000 for 15% equity also seemed modest enough, but the dragons just weren't interested. James Caan even called it a waste of time. Well, that waste of time was estimated at over £37 million in 2024. 7. Chalkbox close to 20 years later, and Chalkbox remains one of James Caan's favorite investments. Peter Moule presented his wire connector safety box as a golden egg for the dragons. For one, it solved a problem many people didn't even know existed, and he was already profitable. This was a shocker for the dragons, but Peter clarified that he wasn't just looking for an investment. He also needed someone to help him take Chalkbox toward the next step. James and Duncan offered him £150,000 in exchange for a 36% stake, with James claiming that he was more interested in the mentorship opportunity than anything else. Well, suffice it to say that the investment paid off. Within 3 months of airing, Peter secured a multi-million-pound contract with a German partner, generating around £25 million in sales to 152 countries. 6. Grip It Fixings. Not only is Grip It one of the most successful businesses to come out of Dragon's Den, but Jordan Dakin is also one of the youngest entrepreneurs to have ever secured a deal in the den. When he entered the tank at 18 years old, Jordan presented his upholstery solution, which could hold up to 180 kilograms. After securing a deal with Deborah, Jordan went on to make history. He was called one of Britain's leading young entrepreneurs. on City AM's list of 100 most powerful entrepreneurs in the UK in March 2016. But that wasn't without controversy. Grip It Fixings went into voluntary liquidation in 2019, just 5 years after securing a Dragon's Den deal. Investors who backed later crowdfunding rounds voiced frustration over poor communication and sudden collapse. Jordan eventually stepped down as CEO before the insolvency, which tarnished his reputation as a success story. He has attempted smaller business ventures since, but none of them have matched Grip It's early fame or scale. 5. Lost My Name. Asi and David entered the den as two of a four-man team behind Lost My Name. They branded it as the best customized book for anyone in the United Kingdom. The entrepreneurs would create personalized books for kids who lost their name, providing a story with animals and mythical creatures giving them hints to find their name. Peter Jones' biggest problem was their ask, £100,000 for 5% equity. But the entrepreneurs came prepared. They saw over 2,000% growth in a month, and this got Piers Linney excited. While most of the dragons walked out one by one, Piers just sat there listening before making his move. To date, Lost My Name remains one of the best equity deals in the show's history. Over 2 million copies sold within a few years. Now over 8 million books in 169 countries and available in 11 languages. 4. Magic Whiteboard. You know it's going to be a big deal when all 4 of the dragons want in. 2008's Dragon's Den saw a rare occurrence where every one of the investors was interested in Neil and Laura Westwood's portable flip chart alternative. The entrepreneurs were offering a roll of A1 whiteboard sheets that stick to surfaces via static. While the Westwood duo were overwhelmed with the response they were getting, they ultimately decided to go with Theo and Deborah's deal, £100,000 for a 40% stake. Revenues surged from £45,000 pre-den to over £1.2 million in the first year after the deal. Today, you can find Magic Whiteboard in every retail outlet near you. 3rd, Destination London. Rachel Lowe might have had a great idea, but she came ill-prepared. The Dragon's Den might be the only place where you have to come with stats, figures, and numbers. Otherwise, the dragons will rip you apart. The board game mimicked Monopoly a lot, and that was something that the dragons were concerned about. Rachel knew this would be a concern, but she thought she had everything in check. Well, she didn't. The dragons were especially concerned about the fact that Rachel was putting all her hope on the fact that a celebrity would endorse it. Would that be enough? The dragons didn't think so, and Rachel walked away without a deal. Well, Destination London debuted at Hamleys in Christmas 2004 and outsold Monopoly as their best-selling game that year. After a corporate setback in 2009, she rebuilt the brand, secured a major acquisition in 2022, and continues creating creative board game spin-offs. This remains one of the strongest bounce-back stories in Den history. 2nd, Razzmatazz Theatre Schools. Denise Hutton didn't just enter the Den by herself. She was accompanied by a team of 4 highly skilled kids who were a part of her Razzmatazz Theatre School. Denise was looking for £50,000 for 25% of a part to invest in not just one school, but the whole franchise. It was an entertaining pitch, that's for sure, but some of the dragons were concerned about logistics. You see, Denise only had 2 schools when she entered the Den, with plans for an expansion that hadn't happened yet. But that's what she was in the Den for. One dragon, however, was very interested in the idea, and that was Duncan, who, interesting fact, has 6 kids. He gave Denise exactly what she was looking for, and today, there are over 40 Razzmatazz schools across the UK, teaching thousands of children weekly. Which of these Dragon's Den products have you used? Which one did you anticipate becoming a hit? Let us know in the comments down below.